Hi folks, second video for the night. The first one I was talking about my journey from a boy playing with unpainted Airfix miniatures through to actually being part of a wargaming group and having great fun playing French Indian War using sharp practice. I previously mentioned about my Warhammer stuff. Still have them. I basically got, I think it's 1,000 points of Dwarf, Empire, Greenskins. Don't use them, they're just there on display. Probably will never use them. I'll try to show you them at some point. But really I'm a historical wargamer now. From here, my next step will probably be, I'm waiting for Too Fat Lardy's new rule set, Infamy. Infamy looks fantastic, based on sort of sharp practice, but it's ancients. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to talk to John and we'll probably look at getting some miniatures. I'd love to do some maybe Romans versus Gauls or Britons or something like that. So probably my next step, or I do have some French Indian stuff still to paint. I do have my German Fallschirmjäger still to paint. But certainly I want to get into some ancients as well. Changing scales, I don't know, maybe I'd look at maybe doing 6 or 10 mil, something else. I don't know, I just love wargaming. I'd love to try everything, but life's only so long, isn't it? So the reason I've got the saga book in front of me, I'm looking at a few books now, carrying on from the last one, where I've got them, but don't necessarily use them. This one was given to me because I did some painting for a guy, and in return, he said he'd buy me the new Saga rulebook and Viking book. So I've got this and never been used yet. I'm keeping it because I sort of like the old Saga rules, and they were fun. I just found that depending on who your opponent was, they could game it quite easily. And sometimes it seemed to be more about how much of the battle boards you could milk rather than actually using any strategy. So lovely images, beautiful colour photography all the way through, well written. A lot of people, when I was on Facebook when they were first coming out with this, said it was so cheap. But for here in Australia, this was about $30 and the Viking book was about $70. So unfortunately not that cheap. But it was, well, I did it as a bit of a trade for some painting. So that's one of the books that I've got in my collection. I've got a reasonable collection now. I'm not bringing them all out. I'm just going to show you some of the books that my favourites. And these ones here are my favourite ones that I've rarely or never used. This one here's another one. This is probably the main reason I originally bought my 28mm 101st Airborne. I got introduced to a few games of bolt action, enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. Started playing with other people's miniatures. Then got into Chain of Command, and then I just found that I like bolt action. I just found that it could be gamey. It really feels like sometimes you're up against people who were ringing the points and all the points based stuff, and they were doing it. They'd introduce things that just felt as if they were just trying to get the win. I'm not a for the win gamer. I'm very much a play it for fun. I don't care if I lose, as long as the game has told a great story, and that's what I love about the sharp practice and Chain of Command. Is it really feels like you are reading a book, that it's telling a story. So I have used bolt action. I do love the book. It's another great book, really well written. It's by Warlord Games and Osprey, and the one thing Warlord Games books do have in common is the quality of their finish. Hardback, really lovely, lots of colour, really well written, and the rules are good. And I do love the draw, very similar to some of the Too Fat Lardy's rules, is you actually draw dice out of a bag, and so it's not I go you go. Sometimes the story will go, your opponent will get 5 draws in a row or whatever, and other times you will, and that can really affect it. However, every unit will eventually move, and that's what some people love. I love the fact with Chain of Command is that you're not guaranteed to get every one of your units moving during that turn. Adds a bit of fun, and you're never guaranteed to win, because sometimes it's just the dice are against you. It's a great book. My other 3 favourites. Hail Caesar. Bought it second hand, so it's a little bit ratty, but again, it is Warlord Games, battles with model soldiers in the ancient era, and just an incredible hardback book, full of great information, photos, great photos of great, lovely painted miniatures, and lots of fluff in the back. It goes into all the different eras. Here we go, you can see here the chariot era, the classical age. Look at those photos. I mean, this is, you know, you can imagine if you're a 10-year-old boy or girl opening up this for the first time and seeing these, you just go, wow, where do I start? I have played Hail Caesar with a wargaming guru here in Tasmania called Jim. Went to his place, played a massive game of Hail Caesar. He's actually adapted the rules now. He prefers Hail Caesar to Black Powder, so he actually has modified Hail Caesar to a rule set called Hail Whoever. Very similar to Black Powder, I think. Possibly even it's Black Powder 2, but they play that. However, the one thing I found with Hail Caesar, actually Hail Caesar, Pike and Shot and Black Powder, is the amount of miniatures you need to get into the game. You know, I'd been through that with painting big armies of Warhammer stuff, and it's going to take forever. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, and big tables, which is why I tend to levitate towards the skirmish stuff where, you know, sharp practice, you can get in with, you know, I can't say a handful, maybe 50 miniatures and you've got a game, or at least on one side anyway. So that's Hail Caesar. If you've never seen the Warlord books, I'd highly recommend them. Said that one I have basically used once. Pike and Shot, saw this one cheap on the internet, secondhand on YouTube, snapped it up. I knew that I'm probably never going to play it, but just the quality. And this is really one of my collecting books. This is a book that I've just collected, because part of the wargaming hobby, I guess, isn't just there's painting, there's gaming, there's collecting miniatures. Some people in wargaming never play, you know, they only collect miniatures. I play, I paint, but I also collect things to do with wargaming. And these books here, I'd certainly suggest that if you're a wargamer, just to get these just to collect. I highly recommend it. Sometimes I just pull them out and just sit there and read through, and I always find something interesting to read. They've always got little snippets of information, Highlanders and Wild Irish there, but Tudor warfare in the British Isles. And they smell great too, these books. You know what a new book smells like. So much information, you can't go wrong with these books. And that is Pike and Shot. And then the third one, of course, Black Powder. And it has got a new one out now, and I will buy the new one. However, because I don't game in it, I'd love to. And eventually, if I build up my French Indian War stuff enough, I'll probably be able to game in it. However, yeah, I'm not sure, not just yet. Again, the quality is second to none. If you like collecting war games books and you don't have any of the Warlord ones, then you're not a collector. Sorry to say, but yeah, these things are just incredible. So well finished. The paint, I mean, it's enough to drool over. Yeah, I know I'll never get to that quality. Speaking of quality, I did regard myself as a reasonably good painter when I was doing Warhammer. It's an amazing thing. Once I became a gamer, or actually gaming, I changed, and rather than trying to get everything looking perfect, I just want to get figures to the table. And even though I think my figures still look great, I don't go through all that detail of necessarily doing highlighting. I found Army Painter dip absolutely incredible for getting them to the table a lot faster. You can block in your main colours, do the dip, it gives you the shade, do a little bit of highlighting, base it, and you're onto the table. So that's another one. Those three books especially, well, with bolt action down there too, but those three there are like I don't know, for me, just incredible books that need to be collected. A couple of other things, my two favourite magazines, War Games, Soldiers and Strategy. Great magazine. This is my favourite. It's all to do with historical gaming. Unfortunately, here in Australia, I could subscribe, but sometimes I'm not sure. I don't. It's actually $11 Australian This is, I think, the latest one. Oh no, there might be another one, but generally we're about 3 months behind. But that's okay. It's never really, I don't really need to be up to date. I just love all the stuff in it. Some great scenarios in them. I've used this one before for some scenarios for sharp practice. But highly recommended. They've got some Wargame Solids and Strategy, have some great comparisons. Oh, they've often got great reviews on miniatures. Some great comparisons for sizes. If you're ever looking at miniatures and you're wondering what size, they often have a little ruler, so you can actually see where they are, true 28 or true 15 or whatever. And some great scenarios in there too. Now, my other favourite, which I think has gone downhill a little bit actually, is Wargames Illustrated. This is the latest one in Australia, which is December 2019. This one's okay, but I'm finding they're just, I don't know, they're going on to Gaslands. The one before last, which would have been November 2019, had a heap of Judge Dredd in there. You know, I don't know. This one's got Game of Thrones, which I guess you could almost, which would probably almost fall within historical if you close your eyes. But I don't know, it just doesn't, it feels like it's trying to sell you a product rather than actually supporting the gaming industry. It's still good, it's still got some great stuff in there, but Wargames Solids and Strategy, I think, is for the general wargamer, and I really feel like they're just starting to push products in this one. Products that aren't necessarily historical. I know it's not. It says Wargames Illustrated, not necessarily historical, but I don't know. I prefer historical, so I'll always have a flick through when I buy this one, and if it hasn't got a lot of stuff to interest me, I won't buy it. Whereas normally I'll just walk straight in and pick up Wargames Solids and Strategy. And that's it. I hope you got something out of this. If nothing else, buy these three and that one there. Even if you don't play their rules, they're just amazing ones. And even some of their what do you call them? The other books that support the supporting books for these are fantastic. I've got a couple of the Hail Caesar ones, the Black Powder one. There's a few I want to get just because apparently they've got so much great historical information. Yes, I could get it elsewhere, but I don't know. It's a great opportunity to buy another wargaming book. Anyway, that's all I can think of for now. I'm probably rambling a little bit, so a bit of a walk through my wargaming past and where I am at the moment. So hoping I'm going to get another game next Saturday. John and I, originally we're going to look at playing Force on Force, but yeah, we've both agreed, I think, that we're going to try to track down some modern rules or modern additions for using Chain of Command. So hopefully I'll be able to post another gaming video next Sunday. Thanks for listening. See you soon.